Yo, 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 what is up? I'm Kenneth Ryan.
I'm Linz.
And we are back with another exciting episode of Fanfiction Friday. Pew, 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 pew. We're picking up...
I got 7. Anyways.
We are picking up where we left off in Star Wars The New Galaxy by Cloud 411.
Let's see if any of our questions get answered. Will they not be idiots and recognize each other?
Will they be pissed that Joe lied to them, or will they kill each other?
Or will they find out in like 20 chapters that they're related? Even though I think a couple chapters from now is titled Siblings, so...
We'll see.
That's a spoiler, whoops.
Starting out, Chapter 18.
Not really a spoiler.
Shroud.
Shroud of Darkness that they used like a couple times. Like...
The Shroud of Darkness. The Shroud of Darkness. The Shroud of Darkness. Hey, did you know about the Shroud of Darkness?
I mean, I think they only used it twice, but it was like in like the same sentence or
it's
two
still,
sentences
it's still
away.
fucking like, hey, do you know about the Shroud?
You want to read?
Sure.
Okay. Anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's cool. I was just bitching about the Shroud of Darkness. Stacy and Joe smashed through the glass window into the director's office and ignited their lightsabers. Using the Force, they could feel the director in the corner of the room.
They're in the dark.
Defenseless.
I forgot about that.
They saw 2 red lightsaber blades, one several meters to their right and the other one on the other side of the room. "Get the director," Joe ordered, jumping forward to meet the Sith on the furthest side of the room. Stacy dashed into the director's direction, her blue lightsaber at her side.
Director's direction.
She was cut off by the Sith that was meters from where they had entered the room. The Sith engaged her with a fierce barrage of lightsaber techniques, pushing Stacy backwards several feet before she was able to switch to a better defensive stance and began defending in one spot. She spun and twisted her lightsaber to meet her opponent's lightsaber and block it. Their blades hissed and cracked as they clashed over and over. Joe met the other Sith with a barrage of attacks that would have pushed any other Sith back, but this Sith held their ground, perfectly matching Joe move for move. Joe's green blade and the Sith's red blade met with crackling noise. Joe tried several times to land a physical blow on his opponent, momentarily wielding his lightsaber with one hand and attacking with the other. Each time the Sith blocked with their arm, leg, or lightsaber hilt. The room was dark aside from the glow of the lightsabers and the light they cast over the room. I would like to point out that this chapter's already almost over.
Yeah, it's a short chapter.
Joe was in the middle of a sequence of lightsaber attacks when he decided to switch the position of his hand, a move he would regret. In that instant,
is he gonna lose his
where
hand?
He shifted his hand,
funny.
The Sith used that instant that his defense was weakest to attack. He drove a fist smashing into Joe's face and sending him stumbling backwards. He quickly recovered, but the tide of the battle had changed. Joe was now the one on the defense, and the Sith was on the very strong attack. Stacy was able to keep up the attack for several more sequences before the Sith she was battling was able to break through her sequence and begin a sequence of her own. Stacy was no on the defense. Now, probably?
Oh, so Stacy's fighting the girl,
yep,
Natalia.
Yep. And she could tell that her master had been put in the same
trying to keep
position she was in.
But...
The 2 separate battles raged on for several minutes with no side showing any sign of giving up or making another mistake. Then suddenly, a dense layer of some type of black-like fog began to fall over the
Shroud
room,
of Darkness.
slowly canceling out all sight except for the lightsaber blades.
It was already done like that. It was already the only light in the room was the lightsabers.
Well, now it really is.
Now there's a fog too.
Now the light coming from the lightsabers no longer illuminated anything. The dark side of the Force shrouded the room,
except for the blades.
Well,
but now it's not even the blades.
Whatever.
I mean the blades as well.
Stacy stopped for only a moment when the fog had settled and canceling all sight aside from the lightsaber blades. In that moment, she felt a sharp kick slam into her side, sending her tumbling to the ground. Her lightsaber fell out of her grip. She heard the lightsaber being caught in midair by the Sith she was fighting.
Ooh, can Natalia double wield?
Maybe. Chapter 19. The Fall of Mike Moore.
Oh my gosh. Mike Moore doesn't exist. It's just Darth Salvador.
It's you now.
Well, sure. Natalia slammed a sharp kick into her opponent's side, sending her opponent tumbling to the ground. She reached out and caught the blue lightsaber. With her Shroud of Darkness, canceling everyone's vision aside from the lightsaber blades, she could finally do her secret mission. Reaching out with the dark side of the Force, she found Brittany almost directly behind Salvador. Oh, she can, push her in front of him. Nice.
Oh.
Staying behind him as he was protecting her. She gripped the blue lightsaber tightly and deactivated it. Using the dark side of the Force, she clouded everybody's ability to feel with the Force.
That's a powerful fucking ability.
That is. Oh, I'm just canceling your Force sense.
Guess
your sixth sense.
Guess you can't tell.
Yeah. She deactivated her lightsaber and melted into the darkness she had spawned. She knelt down in a corner and threw the lightsaber hilt of the Jedi toward where Brittany was standing. Closing her eyes and focusing with the Force, she lifted it into the air, slowly moving across Oh, he's gonna have the blade, like, be in front of Brittany, and then he's gonna, like, swing and kill her. Where was I? Blah, blah, blah. Closing... Where was I? Towards where Brittany was standing.
Oh my god.
Where was I? Closing her eyes and focusing with the Force, she lifted into the air, slowly moving across Salvador and the other Jedi's continued fight. Even though they could not see each other's bodies, just being able to see their lightsabers was enough to keep them battling. She moved the lightsaber hilt until she could feel that it was mere inches from Brittany's hand. She thrust the hilt of the blade into Brittany's hand and used the Force to ignite the blade. The blade sprang to life right behind Salvador. Without his ability to sense with the Force, Salvador had to assume that it was the second Jedi using the cover of the new darkness to sneak up behind him. It worked.
Oh my god.
Dang. So now is Brittany gonna die, then is he gonna try and fuck his sister?
Oh my... The fall of Mike Moore.
In one swift motion, Salvador parried the blow from the Jedi and landed a slash across Brittany's chest. Natalia smiled through the darkness. She heard the sound of Brittany's body collapsing to the ground and saw the lightsaber deactivate. Now all she had to do was prevent any more deaths. If even one more person died, then it would be easy for Salvador to place Brittany's death on the one who died. If one of the Jedi died, he could easily surmise that that Jedi was the one who killed her. If she did, then he could blame it on her. If the director died, he could blame it on him. However, if only one person died, and he knew that he had killed that person, then he would have no choice but to accept that he had killed Brittany. Suddenly, Natalia realized something. If she wanted Salvador to believe that he had killed Brittany, then everyone else in the room must live, including the director. One mission's failure for another mission's success. She decided that the mission that Storm had given her was more important. The director would be spared his life this time.
Damn.
She now needed the Jedi to grab the director and run, which meant she needed to disappear long enough for the Jedi she was fighting to grab him, but not long enough for Salvador to notice her absence. She decided to lift the dark side fog and jump to the opposite side of the room. She used the Force to throw the Jedi her weapon back. This
is so intricate,
yeah.
Goddamn.
The dense layer of dark fog lifted, and the Jedi she had been fighting sprang to her feet, igniting her lightsaber. Natalia decided to play the exhausted card. She activated her lightsaber, but got down on one knee, breathing heavily. The Jedi did exactly as Natalia had wanted. She decided that the safety of the director was more important than a Sith's life. She dashed forward and grabbed the director from the ground where he had been laying.
Master, I've got him! She yelled to the other Jedi. Right. Right, I don't fucking know what his voice is. It's sort of British
Joe,
and old.
So, yeah.
The male Jedi yelled back, jumping backwards and running toward the broken wall of glass. The two Jedi leapt out of the broken wall and into the night of the city.
Mike can't, recognize his sister's voice. Especially with how
it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Natalia looked over to where Brittany's body was and chanced a quick evil grin. Salvador looked down at her body, completely frozen. His lightsaber blade held at his side, the blade pointed towards the ground. How did this happen? He yelled at himself in his mind. He could feel his eyes start to sting as tears started to leak and roll down his cheeks. Damn, they actually got Brittany to die.
Yeah.
A lightsaber slashed across the chest, exactly where he had slashed the opponent with the blue lightsaber. But this didn't make any sense. Why would Brittany have a blue lightsaber? She was not attuned to the Force. He fell to his knees beside her body, dropping his lightsaber. His lightsaber deactivated as it hit the floor. His head slumped over as he mourned her death. She was the only woman he ever loved, the only woman he wanted to be with, and now she was gone. Gone! Gone! Oh, sorry, I spiked the audio there. A massive wave of the dark side energy pulsated out from Salvador's body. The massive wave of dark side energy shattered the pictures on the wall, crushed the metal around the room, and turned the wooden desk to nothing but dust.
Dang.
So is he like a god?
Pretty much.
He's like, I can just destroy the fucking world with my rage?
Apparently.
I couldn't have, he whispered to himself. I just couldn't have. The truth was starting to sink in. He had killed Brittany, the woman he loved. He could feel his anger and rage in himself boiling, ready to overflow into the world. He leaned in and kissed her on her lifeless lips. He did not give any sign that he heard footsteps walking towards him.
Salvador, Natalia's voice said in a low tone. Salvador jumped to his feet and called his lightsaber to his hand. He activated the red blade and slashed at Natalia. She rolled out of the way. Salvador! She yelled in response. What's wrong with you?
This is all your guys' fault, Salvador yelled in rage.
Our fault, Natalia shouted back. We did not kill her. You did.
You guys wanted this to happen, he yelled back. You guys wanted her dead.
Yes, but we did not kill her, she yelled back, igniting her lightsaber.
This is your fault! He shot forward and threw her back with a massive cross slash. Natalia stumbled backwards, then leapt out of the broken glass wall onto the roof of the massive building. She felt Salvador follow her in her leap. The sky started to thunder and rain began to fall down on the rooftop.
Okay.
Oh, so extra.
Yeah.
Perfect Hollywood cinema right there.
Yeah.
Their lightsabers hissed as they ran. As the ran came into contact with their blades, Salvador ran forward, unleashing a massive barrage of attacks on Natalia. Natalia was pushed back by the sheer force of his attacks. She had no choice but to keep ducking and twisting out of the way of his attacks. If she tried to block with her blade, he would only break through her guard and strike her down. This was not how this was supposed to be, she thought. He was supposed to blame himself and become a pawn of the Sith, not turn against them like this. She was forced backwards by an explosive of dark side energy that shoved her back.
Dark-sided.
Dark-sided. It's all dark-sided.
Whenever they say that, I think it.
Hey, what's the lesson you're learning here, Natalia? People don't react the way you think they will.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
I shoved her back.
In that instant, she was struck by a massive wave of force lightning coming from Salvador's outstretched hand. She was brought smashing to the ground and squirming like a fish out of water, screaming in pain and agony as the bolts coursed through her body.
Oh, she's dead. Okay,
Oh,
cool.
well, you really think he's not gonna stop? He's crazy.
Yeah, she's dead.
Salvador's eyes glowed yellow.
No longer have to use that voice yet.
And his rage and rage and hatred, he unleashed his wave of lightning until her body twitched and squirmed no more. Natalia's body lay on the ground, smoke coming from her charred flesh. Dude, what they've done is unleashed a madman who's gonna destroy everything.
Yeah.
They fucked up. Fucking Sith. If they had just been like, hey, notice the Jedi lied about your sister. You're gonna be like, yeah, Sith. Now his sister's gonna have to stop what's basically a god.
Yeah.
Good luck.
But she's just as strong, apparently, supposedly. I don't know.
Oh, alright. The rain began to come down harder as he turned around to answer a presence that had just presented itself. Darth Storm stood at the edge of the roof of the building, looking at the scene before him.
Where are you? Okay. Darth Salvador, he said with a satisfied smile. Your ascension into the dark side is now complete. Salvador pointed the tip of his blade at Darth Storm.
And your fall will soon be complete, he shot back. Storm's yellow eyes grew wide with surprise.
My fall, he repeated.
You are a leader who sticks to the shadows while others die on your behalf, Salvador replied,
leaders don't fight at the front lines.
Pacing back and forth in front of Storm. Your rule is weak, and that is why we are losing this war.
Losing. What insolence is this? Storm asked angrily. I took you in. I gave you power. I allowed that woman to live, he yelled.
Because you knew that if you guys did anything to her, I would never help you, Salvador replied. You did that to keep me happy. He stopped pacing. But that happiness is now gone, he added. Now all that is left is me to gain more power. So much power that I will never love anyone but myself.
Okay. This is not like you, Storm replied. You never talk of only power.
That was because Mike Moore still lived inside this body, Salvador shot back. With the death of Brittany, the fall of Mike Moore was complete, he added. Now all that is left is me, Darth Salvador. Cue maniacal laughter and lightning coming from his hands. Storm was silent. And I no longer have use for you, Storm. Darth Storm reached inside his robe and pulled out his lightsaber and ignited the red blade.
So be it, he said. This will be the end of your life, Darth Salvador.
It will be the end of yours, Darth Storm. The two Sith Lords charged each other as the rain increased and the thunder boomed above them.
Okay.
Holy shit, did this just get wild or
Get
what?
wild.
This took a turn.
It took a turn, all right. But yeah, I guess they never really got to see each other's faces, so they didn't. It's not necessarily that stupid that they didn't.
I know.
Recognize each other.
Shit, though. What's gonna happen now that he's, like, maniacal?
Yeah.
Next chapter.
He's gonna see his sister and be like, oh my god, my humanity, my sister's alive. What have I done?
Chapter 20. Never-ending war.
My question about their plan of, like, killing Brittany and being like, oh, then he won't have her still, so he'll hate himself, but he not us or the Jedi, so then he can't just get revenge on a group and then be fine. But it's like, if he hates himself, he might just kill himself, and then you don't have him as a weapon.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. I don't think they thought that part through.
Yeah, it's like...
But, like, now that you mention it, I'm like, no, that's actually, like...
Yeah.
God, yeah, his revenge would be... Fuck. Seppuku with a...
Yeah, he could still do that. Honestly.
Here's a lightsaber question. Could you commit seppuku with a lightsaber because it cauterizes immediately? Could you do that? Because the whole point is to disembowel yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not really. You just have a random hole in your stomach and...
Well, I mean, it would kill you pretty
slowly
fast.
Probably more... Because he'd cauterize everything, so it would be more like... You wouldn't be able to pass a waste through your body. You just get, like, stuck in them and, like...
Not a fan.
Burst a colon and get, like, sepsis or something.
Yikers, yikers, yikers. You could read this one, by the way.
Stomach acid will build up in your stomach or something.
Ooh.
And then eat
You know what I read recently, and this is unrelated to anything? Digestion is actually extremely painful.
Yes, I've heard.
But your body is just like, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
I've heard that.
I don't know how true that is, but I've heard that.
Yeah. Anywho, Chapter 20, Never-Ending War. Wow. Their two red blades met with an awesome clash of skill and raw power. The rain hammered down on them, the sky lit up with bolts of lightning, and their lightsabers hissed on contact with the wet rain. Darth Storm started off the fight with an impressive array of saber sequences that forced Darth Salvador back several meters. He spun, twirled, and rotated as he pushed Salvador back further, his black robe whipping and flapping in the heavy wind and with his movements. Salvador was put on the defensive from the beginning, switching to the defense style he had mastered under Storm's teachings. He blocked and parried Storm's strikes as they came from all directions.
Yeah, you know,
above, below, left, right, diagonal.
Here's the problem with this fight. Storm trained this man. He knows all Storm's tricks, doesn't he? He was trained by him.
Storm knows all Salvador's tricks, too.
Salvador also is, like, Super Saiyan right now.
True.
Salvador is, like, got the power.
And Storm might not have taught him everything. Keep a couple moves in case you need to kill the dude.
That's true, but still, you're going up against, like, Super Saiyan Goku. That's not easy.
True. Not even Super Saiyan, more like... And whatever's above that, isn't there, like Super Saiyan 2, and there's the blue,
there's Super Saiyan 3.
When he's pink and when he's blue, and
one of them is like Super Saiyan God.
Yeah, stuff
like
that.
No joke, I think it's like Super Saiyan God.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's kind of ridiculous, honestly.
Goku's a powerful man.
Yeah. Darth Storm was clearly living up to his reputation he had conjured. Storm threw a strike at Salvador's legs, but Salvador evaded it by leaping over the blade as it sliced through the air at his knees. In midair, Salvador spun in a circle and unleashed a whip kick with added power from the dark side at Storm's face. Storm ducked and back-rolled out of the move. Salvador thrust out his fingers and unleashed a wave of force lightning from his fingertips. Storm brought his lightsaber blade up to absorb the lightning. The rooftop lit up with light as the red blade of Storm's weapon absorbed the fierce lightning barrage from Salvador.
Jesus.
Storm threw off the rest of the lightning with a flick of his lightsaber and a push from the dark side. He spun on his heel and thrust out his palm, throwing out a devastating wave of dark side energy that brought Salvador off his feet. Salvador flew to the edge of the rooftop before he was able to brush off the massive force push. He was now standing on the very edge of the rooftop, 50 stories above ground level. This is ridiculous, honestly.
This is so anime.
Yeah, or Hollywood.
I'm getting very strong anime vibe. This would be so hard to do with real people.
True. He used the force to help himself balance on the ledge while keeping his eyes constantly trained on Storm. The two Sith lords now stared at each other, neither one showing any sign of making the next move. The rain came down even harder now, drenching the two Siths. Salvador removed his robe and dropped it over the edge of the building. Ooh, fancy.
Ooh.
Why don't you just set
Siths
it on the building?
are so fucking extra.
Why did you drop it over the building?
Because I imagine it like he lets it go and it goes...
fluttering.
You know, like lightning, dramatic anime moment.
Yeah, the lightning illuminates it as it falls. Storm removed his robe and threw it to the ground. The added weight of a soaked robe would only slow them down and decrease their overall speed and accuracy when it came to defense. The two Sith's yellow eyes burned with an extremely powerful hatred and rage that was unmatched by any other. They glared at each other as another loud boom of thunder erupted over their heads, followed by a massive bolt of lightning. Why is the thunder first?
Yeah, no, that's not
That's not how physics work.
Yikers.
Me. It did not have to turn out this way, Storm yelled over the sound of the falling rain.
Anakin, we could have been brothers. Or we were brothers or something.
Yeah.
It's what this is, but instead of lava, it's the rain.
Yeah, and the 50-story drop.
Oh, and like instead of like Padme dying in childbirth, the girl got zapped.
Yep. The lightsaber to the chest.
Your rule is weak, Salvador yelled back. You will do nothing for the Sith the way you are now.
You believe you can run things better than I can? Storm yelled back.
Yes!
Yeah!
Remember how many times you told me I was better than you and every other fucking Sith?
Yeah.
Yes! Salvador...
I mean, doesn't mean he thinks he's stronger, it doesn't mean he's smarter.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Salvador flipped towards Storm's position. Storm rolled out of the way as Salvador's blade stabbed through the spot Storm had been standing moments earlier. Storm lunged forward and attempted to sidestab into Salvador's gut. Salvador brought his red blade around his side and parried the attack, sending the blade of Storm's weapon stabbing harmlessly into the rain-filled air. But Storm had been prepared for such a move. He quickly regained his stance and flipped his red blade in a complete circle towards Salvador's hand. Salvador instinctively pulled back, but not fast enough. Oh, it's the Skywalker curse, isn't it?
No, it's not.
His red blade shut down as the tip of his lightsaber hilt was sliced in two. Uh-oh. Red sparks shot out from the severed tip of the now useless hilt. Storm launched a kick that slammed Salvador in the chest and caused him to stumble backwards. Something metal fell from Salvador's belt and skidded across the rooftop. Salvador fell on his back and scampered backward several inches before tumbling around, still on his back, to face his opponent. Use the force and take the girl's blade.
Yeah, but where wasn't that inside?
Oh fuck, maybe.
Like down on the floor?
I don't know.
Oh no, wait, she went outside, so it's somewhere.
She's dead on the rooftop.
She's on the roof as well. Did she have her lightsaber at that point, though?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think so. We'll see how this turns out. Storm advanced slowly on his now defenseless opponent, savoring his triumph. His red... Oh, God. Your arrogance will be your downfall if I've learned anything from anything.
Yeah.
Never let your opponent... Just kill your opponent first and then gloat. Don't gloat while they're still alive. His red blade angled towards the ground as he dragged the tip of the blade across the rooftop as he made his menacing approach to his prey. He stopped his slow approach only when he towered over his opponent. He glared down at Salvador with a deep-rooted resentment.
Where is it? There, okay. It did not have to be this way, he said over the loud pounding of the rain. This path is of your choosing. He angled his blade towards Salvador's chest. The two warriors were completely soaked from the ever-increasing rainfall. How strong can this rain get? It was already pounding.
This is like a typhoon in New York, I guess.
Rain slid down Salvador's face as he stared into his old mentor's yellow eyes. He showed no sign of fear, of regret, or of defeat. Salvador radiated nothing but power and unshakable determination. Storm brought his red blade up over his head to deliver the killing blow that would end Salvador's life once and for all. He brought his blade down on Salvador, but at the last possible moment, Salvador rolled to his left as the blade came down where he had been moments ago. He rolled to his feet and threw out the palm of his hand and called the metal object that had fallen from his belt to his hand. A blue blade of energy erupted into existence. Storm could not help but show a little surprise at this move. You had a second weapon? He asked, his yellow eyes wide.
The female Jedi had two lightsabers on her, Salvador replied, bringing the blue blade to a defense position in front of him.
Why did she have two lightsabers? And
This is Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah. Yeah.
I stole one of her lightsabers as she was
Just
fighting
take the
Natalia.
one from the dead.
He added.
Take it Natalia's. That would have made more sense. Unless he's suddenly becoming a Jedi.
Maybe.
But, you anticipated a fight like this? Storm stated slowly.
I had a feeling that a big fight was coming up.
I put it as a question.
The cause of that fight was not able to come to me, but I knew that I would be better off with a second hidden weapon, Salvador explained.
Uh-huh.
Salvador used the Force.
To dash.
Sorry. Used the Force to dash to where Storm stood. It was important. Well, not really, but I was curious. Storm sidestepped out of the way and quickly regained his composure. A grin appeared on Storm's face.
You killed the woman you loved. How does that feel? He asked Salvador.
Shut up! Salvador yelled, charging forward. Salvador aimed to slash at Storm's head, which Storm easily parried. As he tried to spin around to counterattack Salvador was one step ahead of him, using the same maneuver but in the opposite direction. He slammed a kick right into Storm's face, sending him flying backwards and sliding on the wet rooftop. His lightsaber bounced out of his hands. Storm slowly pushed himself up so he could stand straight. He looked at Salvador.
Good, very good, he complimented. There's been no Sith before you who could disarm me aside from Darth Palin. Is it Palin this time?
No, it's Palin.
Are you sure?
Yes, it's P-A-L-A-N, yeah.
We didn't have two L's before?
Nope.
Pretty sure it was like ballin'.
No.
Wasn't it?
Nope, it's
Are
always
you
been
sure?
P-A-L-A-N.
Are you sure?
Yes. I'm positive.
He said with a grin. Now do it! Finish it! Kill me! Do it! Kill me! He screamed at Salvador. That kind of hurt.
Oh.
Salvador charged forward to deliver the finishing blow and kill Darth Storm. He reached a meter's length from his opponent when he slashed with his blade. Storm dropped to the ground on his back and brought his legs up and planted them on Salvador's chest. In one fluid motion, he thrusted his legs backwards and performed a backflip. The force of the pull from his legs sent Salvador flying over the edge of the building, falling to the streets below. Salvador did not know it hit him until it was too late. He fell 50 floors and slammed on top of a trailer connected to a semi-truck. He rolled off the side and fell to the ground. He heard the squealing as cars slammed on their brakes and swerved to avoid hitting him as he lay on the street. So he fell 50 stories.
Oh my god.
Landed on top of a metal truck.
And lived.
And lived. Perfectly fine, apparently.
The Force is powerful. He also is in God mode right now. I will actually buy that because he is, like, insanely powerful with his rage.
But that doesn't mean it protects his body from blunt force trauma.
Remember that the Force is really good at healing? They established that when they healed Stacy.
Well, they had Jedi people who were trained to heal people with the Force, I'm assuming.
Well, he is now.
And that was the light. This is the dark.
Look.
Whatever.
The Force does not discriminate between light and dark.
I mean, no, it really doesn't. Okay. He slowly opened his eyes, which had momentarily closed on impact with the concrete ground.
Well, yes.
You'd be unconscious, please. He pushed himself up with some difficulty. His back was in agonizing pain. So you fall off 50 stories, hit a truck, roll onto the ground.
And
people see this. You get up, and people are not going to question this. Like, oh.
I guess not.
Okay. His back was in agonizing pain, and that pain was pulsating throughout his whole body.
It's very anime.
He managed, to stand up on his 2 feet and turn around to see a taxi on a collision course with him. The road was too wet. The taxi could not stop in time. You've been on the ground for at least, 5 seconds. The taxi should have been able to stop in time.
Nani? I'm getting very... I feel like we should be, animating this.
Add in random Japanese terms.
Kind of. Wait, it's...
Nani? Kuso. Baka. Stop it time. In a sudden spur of anger and rage, Salvador lashed out with the dark side, flipping the taxi backwards and causing it to crash into several other cars. He turned back around to see Storm land on the ground about 10 meters in front of him. So did Storm just jump off the building after him and land 50 stories below?
Force is fucking crazy,
People
dude.
with the Force have fallen off stuff and died, though, and didn't they? I mean...
The Force in this world is very powerful.
Didn't someone fall off a bridge while fighting someone else?
I
and
think so.
die?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Han, but he didn't have
Star
the
Wars.
Force. So.
Yeah. I don't know much.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. Where was I? 10 meters in front of him. Using the dark side to keep the fall from hurting him, Storm created an indent in the pavement where he had landed. That seems fake.
So fucking anime,
It's
right?
anime, yeah. Or superhero movie.
This is so fucking anime.
Storm stood up to his full height and stared at Salvador. "You cannot beat me," he yelled at his old student.
This battle will decide that, not you.
Ha.
Salvador yelled back, using the dark side to suppress the pain pulsating through his body.
Why didn't you use the force to prevent yourself from being hurt and create a dent in the
I don't
semi?
think he realized he was falling till he hit the ground.
It's 50 stories. It takes like a minute.
In the anime eyes, he plummeted.
Maybe like 30 seconds. I don't know.
He called his lightsaber back to his hand and ignited the blue blade in front of him. Storm unleashed a massive wave of Sith lightning and ripped through the air towards Salvador. Humans
It's
in New York
Sith
are
lightning,
witnessing this.
Yeah.
Jedis
People
are no
driving.
longer secret.
No, they are not.
Salvador brought his lightsaber blade up and absorbed the lightning. He jumped forward and began a barrage of power lightsaber strikes that put Storm on the defensive position. The streets were filled with people watching the battle, and people running away as the two Sith Lords battled their way down the street. Storm parried a blow that was aimed at his legs, then grabbed a car with the dark side and hurled it at Salvador. Salvador slashed his lightsaber vertically and sliced the car in two, and used the force to separate the two pieces before they could touch it. He then grabbed the two pieces with the force and threw them back at Storm.
Okay, maybe less than 30 seconds.
How long is the fall?
Like 15.
It might take you
Maybe
15
a little,
seconds
maybe a
to
little
realize.
faster because
If you
of
get kicked,
heavier weight.
if you get kicked and realize, and like the wind's knocked out of you, and you're falling you might not realize for 15 seconds. You might be like, I'm trying to breathe.
It might even be faster because it accelerates as you go. That was just like 10 stories and I multiplied by 5, but also the weight was less, so.
That's fair.
So maybe like 10, 15, probably something like that.
Storm used the force to deflect the two pieces of car, and
fast.
sending them smashing into the sidewalk filled with innocent bystanders. Standards.
Yeah. Bystanders, it says. It doesn't say standards.
Standards?
Yeah, bystanders. It's correct.
You use a D?
Yes.
Oh.
They're standing by.
I didn't know that. Storm flash dashed.
That's a new term.
Gotta go fast. Forward and almost caught Salvador off guard. Salvador blocked the red blade with his blue blade, and the two blades held their connection. They sizzled, crackled, and hissed as the rain continued to fall on the city. They two blades separated, then clashed again as the two Siths continued their fierce battle. They made their way down the street as they continued their battle, pedestrians running for cover as the two Siths did not care for their safety, and even used some of the pedestrians as shields against the others' attacks. Oh my god! Oh my god!
No redemption for you, Salvador.
Pedestrian that gets grabbed and slashed with a lightsaber blade. Excuse me. Cannot sign up for this by living in New York.
Yeah.
Salvador was being pushed backwards by Storm's attacks. He was left on the defensive once again.
But honestly, yeah, there is no redemption for Salvador at this point.
No,
Are they
no.
going to try and do that in the next 30,
I won't believe
38
it.
chapters?
I won't believe it. He's killing. Just
Like, oh, I regret it now. Light side forever.
Light side 5 ever. Like if you're not a poser. Only true goths will like Salvador. His defenses were barely holding against Storm's relentless attacks. It was at this moment Salvador realized, as powerful as he was not yet powerful enough to kill Darth Storm. He still needed more training. Joe! Buddy!
Hey.
Remember when I fucking used people as human shields?
No,
Regret it! I'm on the light side now. Praise the light. Oprah Winfrey, good gal, right? She's on the light side, isn't she? You can't fool me, Joseph.
Joseph was the bully.
Joseph,
Killed.
right. At that instant, Storm smashed through the last of Salvador's defenses and kicked his lightsaber out of his hand and sent it flying across the street. He pushed forward with the force, throwing Salvador up against a cement building. Salvador's back slammed against the side of the building, and his ability to suppress the pain vanished. He slid down the wall until he was sitting on his butt, and his back against the wall. His head dropped down so his face was stared at the ground. Storm approached his prey, this time with a little more speed, knowing full well that Salvador may have another trick up his sleeve. He stopped inches from where Salvador sat, his back against the wall of the building.
I told you, Storm said. You cannot beat me, Salvador. Salvador managed to gain some of his strength back and lifted his head up to stare into the face of what would soon be his executioner. Raindrops slid down his face as the rain continued to pour down on them. If only you had waited a little longer, Storm continued. You would have been more capable of killing me. Storm thrusted his blade forward. Salvador closed his eyes to his face. What?
To his face.
Oh. The red lightsaber blade cut through Salvador's chest with no resistance. Salvador's body went limp and lifeless.
Oh, shit.
Storm removed his blade from Salvador's chest and shut the weapon down. He whipped around, turning his back to Salvador's body. He felt an extreme, sharp pain pulsate from his chest throughout the rest of his body. He slowly stared down at his chest. The blue lightsaber blade that Salvador had been fighting with had flown through his chest. He strained with what little life he had left in him to look behind him where Salvador's body lay. Salvador's eyes were open, pulsating with extreme rage and hatred for his old master. He'd used the Force to call his lightsaber and sent it stabbing through Storm's chest.
Damn.
But how? Storm asked
Nani?
as he fell to his knees. Nani? As he fell to his knees and landed with a thud on the ground. Salvador slowly stood up, his chest bleeding profusely.
Lightsaber's cauterized. I don't believe it.
Yeah. He clasped his right hand over the wound and called his lightsaber to his hand. He shut down the weapon and attached it back to his belt. He glared down at his old master's dead body, blood pouring out of his wound. Foolish. Oh, that's you.
Foolish old man, Salvador muttered as he turned his back to his old master's body and headed to get his wound fixed.
Okay.
And he's just fine. I guess the power he has is immense. Man. Gotcha, Storm.
Did he cut or did he stab?
He cut.
Storm.
Oh, Storm got stabbed. It went into him.
No, did Storm stab?
Oh, he
or
cut.
Salvador?
He slashed across the chest.
Did he?
Yes.
Scroll up.
Yes.
Thrust his blade forward,
Oh.
cut through his chest, no resistance.
Oh, never mind.
So
It's a
he
stab.
thrusts, so it's a stab.
Never mind.
Okay.
I lied.
Yeah.
Chapter 21. Siblings.
Be like, hey, Stacy, just a heads up, that was your brother.
You can start this one off because you might not get any other words.
Yeah, I mean, there's a dude called Rick.
That's the director.
Oh, that's the director. Never mind. Stacy and Joe safely made it back to their temporary headquarters, a rundown hotel in Queens section of New York.
Oh.
Stacy placed the director down on the floor once they entered their room. The man had some type of weird metallic armor covering his entire body except for his head. The man looked to be in his late 40s to early 50s. And you're not going to question this weird armor?
I guess not.
Okay. Stacy and Joe safely... Oh. Stacy walked over and sat down on the bed.
Temporal loop.
On the bed, staring at the man. Something wasn't right about him, but she couldn't put her finger on what was so strange about this man, aside from the metallic armor he wore. Joe locked the door to the room and turned to the director.
You must be the director of the Guardians, he stated. I am, the director answered. Call me Rick, he answered. Why are you wearing that strange armor? Stacy asked, unable to contain her curiosity any longer. Ah, yes, Rick replied,
Oh my
looking down
God.
at his armored chest. This metal is a special type of metal we call vibranium. He answered.
Vibranium is Marvel.
Isn't that what the fucking Avengers shield,
Yes.
Captain Hero shield's made
And
out of?
also Black Panther's entire outfit and everything in Black Panther, if you've ever seen the movie. That's that metal.
Vibranium.
Yeah.
Do they run out of Star Wars lore that quickly?
What's the metal that, or whatever that Hans or whoever gets,
Oh, I don't know.
what's it called? Carbonite or something?
Oh, he gets put in carbonite?
Can't they use that?
I don't know. They could have made up a Star Wars word,
Yeah, that too.
not a fucking Marvel
Also,
word.
can't they sense that he has the Force connection?
I guess not.
Does the vibranium cover that?
It might cover that.
But wouldn't your head be the most important part?
Well, remember
Anyway,
when, what's her
It's
name?
mostly a mental thing, isn't it?
Natalia could, like, shut down the Force, so maybe
True.
he can do that too. He's got the Sith power.
True. Continually without the Shroud of Darkness?
I don't know. He's powerful.
Yeah, okay.
He
Okay.
answered. It is able to withstand any form of attack, bullet, fire, water, electricity, even the energy from your lightsabers. He added. It is the best form of protection that I could think of for a man of my standing in this war. If that's your only protection, then why did you willingly give up that information? Stacy asked. Rick smiled. Clever girl, he commented. I willingly gave you that information because there is nothing that can be done to remove this armor, he answered. You see,
What?
once it is isolated and formed into the actual armor I wear, it is then fused with my skin, he explained. This armor is basically my skin now.
What?
He added.
How do you go to the bathroom?
He pees out of his metal dick. His vibranium penis.
Does he wear clothes over the armor? Because it just said he was just wearing the armor. So is there like a hole underneath? Did he like point his dick backwards? Can he never get hard? Can he never have sex?
Do you think he's having sex?
No.
Stacy sat there staring at Rick. That's your skin? She asked slowly. Yes, Rick answered. It will be my skin until the day I die. Which will be a long ways down the road, Joe said. Director. Rick, he corrected him. Sorry, Joe apologized. Rick, you may not like Force users, whether they be Sith or Jedi, but we did not capture you to force you to do anything or to hurt you. We took you to keep you safe, he explained. You are free to walk out that door at any moment you wish. He indicated the door and unlocked it with a wave of his hand.
What was the point of locking it?
Let me take a drink, because fucking Stacy's voice.
You could have chosen something easier. I mean, you didn't know that she was going to be important.
I thought she died.
Yeah.
Basically what he's saying is, Stacy began, we are the only thing keeping you safe from the Sith right now. We are all that stands between you and your inevitable death if you don't learn to trust us. She explained with a sharp tone. I can feel some level of hatred coming from you, girl, Rick replied, his smile vanishing. You hate us, he added. I dislike you Guardians with a great passion, she replied with a sigh, closing her eyes. May I ask why? He asked, clearly curious. Joe stood to the side of the conversation, ready to intervene if Stacy lost a level of control over herself. There was silence for several seconds before Stacy said, Because you guys took everything from me. Took everything from you, he repeated. How so? He asked curiously. She slowly opened her eyes and looked at Joe, who slowly nodded for her to answer the question.
Why?
8 years ago, she began, closing her eyes halfway. You guys killed my family, my mother, father, and brother, she said in a low, soft voice. Rick's eyes opened wide. Your brother, he repeated. Mike Moore, she replied, looking down at the carpeted floor. And probably Brittany too, since he was with her, she added. Rick stared at Stacy for several long seconds, then eyed Joe standing next to Stacy. We killed Mike Moore? He asked Joe. Yes, Joe answered with no hesitation. Suddenly, Rick's face lit up as he understood what she was talking about. 8 years ago, Riversville, he muttered. Stacy slowly nodded her head. Joe failed to notice a slight grin that momentarily appeared on Rick's face before it vanished. So you and Mike were brother and sister? He asked. Yes, she answered. Siblings, he whispered to himself. They're both in this city, Rick thought to himself. As it is clearly obvious, Joe began, your headquarters is no longer a safe place, he stated. You may not care to hear what we think, Stacy said, standing up from the bed. But I suggest you leave New York, she added, fully opening her eyes. Also notice that all of your characters have died.
Have they?
Yeah. Brittany, Darth.
Oh, we've got Crystal or whatever.
Natalia. All of them have died.
They have indeed.
In the last chapter, no less.
They did.
I hope they introduce some new characters.
Yeah, there's that Crystal chick. And the random Sith lackeys.
True. The Sith will be back.
I didn't even notice.
They will be stronger than they were last time. Rick stood up from his chair and smiled. I must admit, he said, I may hate all Force users, but I will admit that I am grateful for your help, he confessed. However, this does not change the Guardian's position on this war, he added. I understand, Joe replied with a nod. Joe walked over to a suitcase laying on the bed and opened it. He pulled out a trench coat and handed it to Rick. "This will hide your metal armor skin," he said. Rick put the coat on and buttoned it up fully. It did indeed hide every inch of his metallic skin. Without another word, he walked out of the room and closed the door behind him.
So he doesn't say anything about, like, hey,
no,
that's the name of the Jedi.
He's gonna use that information. Shit, you fucked up by telling Rick, Stacy.
And you guys just let him go. Like, hey, thanks for your help, but I'm still gonna try and kill you all. Okay, bye, see you later.
See you when you try to kill us. We won't try to kill you back.
Yeah, they're stupid.
Stacy stood there watching the closed door with an emptiness in her eyes. Joe walked over and placed his hand on her shoulder. "He is basically the one who killed my family," she whispered. "I can't help but feel it dishonors my family.
Dishonor on your family. Dishonor on your cow.
To just let him walk out of here like this," she explained. "I must now commit seppuku, because I have brought shame to my family."
Stab.
"Your family was an honorable one,"
Well,
he replied.
this didn't work. It was a lightsaber. I'm now cauterized.
"They would not want you to take a life or hurt a life on their behalf," he said in a sympathetic voice. "Go and tell the clerk at the desk that we are checking out." "Right," she replied, walking out of the room. When the door was closed behind her, Joe sat on the bed and released a massive sigh. "That was too close," he muttered to himself. "She almost learned the truth about her brother." Do we wanna?
How long is the next one?
We can do it.
Yeah, the thing is Rick going to tell Salvador next time he tries to kill him that, hey, your sister's alive?
I don't know. I'm genuinely curious how that's gonna play out because Rick has a lot of power with that information.
Yeah, because he could have just been like, hey, we didn't kill anybody named Mike Moore. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
He's still alive.
He's Darth Salvador. I don't fucking know. Yeah, dude. I don't know.
He didn't even have to reveal that he knows that he was the Sith dude.
Dude, I know. Dude, I know.
Whatever. I'll
Chapter
start reading
22.
because all my characters are
Reign.
dead. Reign, as in the REIGN one and not the RAIN one. Like a monarch, because he's ruling over them all now. Salvador stumbled as he made his way down an alley next door. The Sith in the city had set up their temporary base. His wound was bleeding, even worse now. He had tore off a section of his t-shirt and wrapped it tightly around his chest wound. The torn piece of shirt was now dark and red with blood. He clasped his hand over the torn piece of clothing. He could feel the blood soaking through the cloth and held onto his hand. He needed to get back to the Sith base and get someone to heal him. As he made his way through the alleys and back streets, as to not attract any more attention, people would be following you.
Yeah?
With cameras and the police. And
You, literally used people as human shields?
You fell off a building, landed on a truck, fought someone using telekinesis pretty much in their eyes, and fought some with a light sword, used people as human shields, got stabbed in the chest, and walked away.
You are an impressive specimen.
People are going to be
Michael
following
Moore.
you, probably. Everybody wouldn't have run away, honestly.
Remember,
even if they're being used as shields, people would still stay and film and stuff.
By chance, when he had sex with Brittany, and I thought that was, like, a wild thing.
Yeah.
Now here we are.
Yeah.
This is a story we could not predict the ending of.
Yeah. As he made his way through the alleys and meshes and not attracting more attention, his mind was racing. He had managed to kill Darth Storm, one of the most powerful Sith Lords in the Order. Once the other Siths learned what he had done, they would surely betray and try to kill him, or follow you.
It's true, if they're
Honestly,
following power.
Lots of times it's like, hey, you killed the boss, now I'm the leader now, like Kylo Ren and whatever.
And everyone's like, alright.
Okay, cool, you're now the leader because you beat the
boss.
boss. There was only one way to avoid that. Kill them first. So he's just gonna... Okay, but he needed them to help him fight the Jedi. Okay. He would have to lie about Darth Storm's death and manipulate the situation to his favor. First off, he needed to get healed. The apartment building where the Sith were came into sight only a block away. He used his left hand to hold himself up as he made his way towards the building. He could feel his right hand, which was clenched over his wrapped wound, soaked in blood. His vision was beginning to go blurry on him. He found it hard to focus on the building and started to sway slightly as he braced himself with his left hand against the side of the building. Well, did he just leave the lightsaber in the dude's chest or whatever?
I don't know.
It's the blue one.
No, he took it back. It's clipped.
Oh yeah. He could have left it there and been like, hey, Jedi killed him. They left their lightsaber.
Yeah, no, now he's got a Jedi lightsaber on his hands.
Yeah, be like, hey, I stole it. Which he did, but also...
Oh boy.
He coughed and blood came out of his mouth and splashed on the wet ground. He was stabbed in the... I guess he could have got a lot.
Yeah?
He reached the building and used the force to
he was
open the
dying.
door. Several black... Yeah, using the force even though I'm dying. Can't you just open the door? Wouldn't it be easier, honestly, to not use your mental force powers?
No, because it's dramatic if he does it this way.
Yeah.
The Sith are all extra. The Sith are all gay.
Yeah, several black-robed Siths spun around to see what it was. Darth Salvador stumbled into the apartment building, blood now dripping from his right hand, which was still over his wrapped wound. Several Sith ran forward and grabbed both his arms to help him balance. Lord Salvador, what happened? A Sith asked, as he helped Salvador down the hall. Salvador decided the best thing to do for now was to play it quietly, to not say anything until he was fully healed. Whether he wanted to answer the question or not, it did not matter. Moments later, Salvador fell unconscious from massive blood loss, finally. His mind was now completely black. All remnants of Mike Moore gone. Great.
Well, yeah.
Salvador's mind was now nothing more than a black veil with nothing behind it but power. Pure, raw, uncut power that would soon be all his.
His uncircumcised power is going to strike again.
He slowly opened his eyes. He could feel a slight warmth coming from his chest where he had been stabbed. His eyes slid down and he saw a red glow coming from his chest. He looked up and saw a black-robed female Sith holding her hands open over his wound.
Can we just talk for a minute how the Sith women all just have girl names?
Yeah.
But, like, the Sith Lords all have, like, weird names?
Yeah. I mean...
Darth Mary? That's her name.
I mean, I guess they're not lords, they're just the minions, so they just go by their name.
Okay, whatever.
Maybe.
I don't know. He wasn't a lord either, and they're like, you are now Salvador.
That's because he was secretly training and wasn't allowed to have... Be like, hey, Mike!
What's up,
What's
Mike?
up, Mike?
Yeah, okay, I guess you're right.
But you're supposed to say Mary.
Mary, he whispered softly. The female Sith opened her eyes and looked at Salvador.
What should I voice her as? Yeah, it'd just be pretty normal. Lord Salvador, she replied with a slight nod. I have stopped the bleeding and replenished the blood you lost during your journey back. I'm in the process of closing the wound now with Sith alchemy.
As opposed to regular alchemy. There's a different branch. It's the Sith brand.
Isn't it just healing with the Force? Why is it something alchemy?
Well, okay, so Jedi's heal with the Force, Sith heal with Sith alchemy. I'm figuring out the lore of this world.
She explained.
But there
will be a scar that won't heal. After all, a lightsaber did go completely through you. Wrong through, she added. Salvador relaxed his body and closed his eyes. What exactly happened? She asked, still working on his wound.
Jedi, he answered softly, came through the window of the director's office. 2 of them, more than likely a Jedi Master and a Knight, he explained. The 2 Jedi first ganged up on Natalia and killed her.
With lightning?
They then came after me, he went on. I was able to hold them back, but at the cost of Brittany's life. The male Jedi whom I assume was the Master killed her. Then Lord Storm arrived and began fighting the Jedi. He took them both on at once and handled himself extremely well. I ran forward to try and help, but I was doing nothing but holding him back, so I backed off, a move that cost Lord Storm his life. The Jedi Master killed him moments after my retreat, he explained. Mary was silent while listening, still closing up Salvador's wound. I ran forward and tried to help Lord Storm, but it was too late to stop his death. His last words that I'd take his place and assist the Sith in the utter destruction of the Jedi and the Guardians, he continued. Mary pulled her arms back from Salvador's exposed chest.
Done, she said. Salvador sat up and looked at his chest. There was a visible scar on the spot where he was stabbed. The scar was about 1.5 inches wide in a circular form that covered the edge of the wound. He whipped his legs over the side of the table he had been placed on and closed his eyes for a moment before opening them again. We lost a great battle today, he whispered, and one of the best warriors and Sith Masters we have.
Mary nodded.
Yes, we have, she agreed. But we still have you, Lord Storm's most prized student, and one he continually spoke for, she added. His legacy, you could say.
He was a great mentor and a role model. I only hope that I can live up to the expectations he had for me, he replied.
You will, she assured him. Every Sith has watched and listened of your progress throughout the past 8 years. They are all pretty loyal to you, she explained. Great.
I would have brought Lord Storm's body back with me, he began. But I was just too wounded. I had to think of my own survival.
How did you get wounded? She asked suddenly.
The Jedi Knight managed to catch me off guard when I saw Lord Storm fall. The Knight stabbed me in my chest and kicked me to the ground. I thought I was dead, but something brought me back, he explained.
The will of the dark side, she stated. You're just helping him out here. Salvador nodded. That was one aspect of his fight with Storm he could not wrap his head around. He accepted his death and allowed Storm's blade to go through him with no resistance. How was he alive? Was it truly the will of the dark side that he lived? Or was it his own power and lust for greater strength that brought him back from the pits of death?
You know, that's a good question.
Yeah.
It could be both.
Who knows? I guess it depends where he was stabbed in the chest.
I'm picturing, I don't know. I thought it was a slash.
Would it be the heart? Is it just randomly in the chest and be like, oh, I hope you die from that?
No. If it was the heart, there's no way they could have justified that. It has to be in the
Unless
chest.
he's got that one condition where his organs are switched. that'd be impressive if they went that far.
I would, yeah. I'd be like, oh, yeah, okay.
Either way, it did not matter to him. He was alive, and now he would take Storm's place in the Sith. All he needed to do now was manipulate the Sith into fighting the way he sees fit until the Jedi and Guardians are all dead. Then he will kill the rest of the Sith, leaving only him. But that was still far off in the future. He needed to stay focused on what he needed to do in the present,
now,
not the future.
Rick and Salvador have the exact same goal, to be the only Force user in the world.
Pretty much. And then he might kill himself at the end, honestly.
Oh, yeah, seppuku.
And then it's now it's modern times and there's no more Jedi. Great.
Is this how they explain it?
That might be the end. Yeah. Blah. But that was still far from the future. You know, so blah blah, not the future. Okay, there are still Sith inside the Order that are not loyal to him and may not believe him. They would have to be taught to believe him, but he could not use Force, for that would only draw suspicion onto himself. Something he did not need right now. He decided that his best bet at the current moment was to not talk about what happened, unless he was asked. He would not try to push that Storm had said that he wanted Salvador to take his place. He would let that part of his tale sink in naturally. He also needed to see Caleb, but making a new lightsaber for him. The Jedi's lightsaber had fallen off his belt as he staggered back to the apartment building. He needed a new blade.
What if some kid finds that, Salvador?
I mean, they can only use it if it's... Can they?
You have to push a button. It's not a Force thing, it's a button thing.
Then why don't more people use lightsabers?
I don't fucking know.
Darth Salvador rose from the table and walked out the room to start his new reign. Ooh.
Bum bum bum.
Close enough. And
damn.
Bum bum.
This has gone in a very wild direction. I don't remember how it started, but it didn't.
Fucking a girl in a field.
It didn't make me predict that this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know? Anyways, it's been like an hour. I'm
kind of
sleepy.
glad that they're keeping him dark. Honestly,
True.
I don't want him to be like, oh, redemption, I'm now on the good side, and everyone
True.
accepts that.
True. It's interesting that their main character is the dark side.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
I mean, his sister's a main character now, but she was not for a while.
Some people do write, like, in the dark side.
It's neat.
And they keep in the dark side.
Hey, I'm
They're still
sleepy.
doing dark side things.
But if you've been enjoying this, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's the YouTube thing, duh. If you have a fic you'd like us to read on the show when we're finished with this one,
feel free to suggest it.
leave it in the comments down below. And
we'll look over it.
Next week we'll see where the fuck this continues to go. So until then, stay awesome, read more smut. Bye.
Bye.